Hey guys, in this video I'm going to talk about how we can use a RAG pipeline inside AWS, which is the Amazon Cloud Web Service. We'll talk about how we can create the account and how we can take advantage of the free usage in the trial period, and then we'll talk about how we can create a whole RAG pipeline including the retriever using the face, and how we can actually answer questions using LLM that we also use based on the AWS pipeline, and try to generate answer to documents that are founded based on the documents that we provide. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Welcome everyone to your channel, AI Fun Fact for All. For those of you who are new to this channel, my name is Pedram Again. I have a PhD in computer science, and in this channel, we talk about AI and machine learning and how we can use it in order to improve our efficiency. As I said in the beginning, we want to explore how we can use AWS as the top cloud service provider in order to make a RAG pipeline. We have talked about this before, and I have actually showed before that how you can use it inside your own computer instance, or for example in a Google Cloud. But right now, we want to move a little bit further from this and talk about the cloud services which make your life a lot easier if you want to productionize it. So basically, when you have provided a solution and you have done your experimentation, now you want to give it to the end user. That's where you want to deploy it, and you want to put lots of other things on top so that the end user can basically benefit from it. And that's where AWS is very powerful, and it provides you lots of this infrastructure. If you don't have, for example, a GPU in your computer, or a server that can run, and also like looking at your account management and so on, that's going to be very helpful. I'm not going to go too much into the detail of AWS, but a very broad explanation. The type of different experiments that AWS provide is actually provided in three different layers. On the very first layer, we have the infrastructure, and then they provide like infrastructure as a code and how you can basically call this infrastructure to be available to you. So what do we mean by that? Maybe we have EC2 instances, which are the compute instances. We have S3 buckets, and we also have like Redshift. So these are the three different type of infrastructure, or basically type of like hardware that you can basically revoke given your requirement. And then on top of this one, we'll create some application layer, but in a low level. For example, we have Sagemaker. Sagemaker AI is the one that we will discuss in here, which actually provides you to interact with it, create, for example, a Jupyter notebook, and then load those basically instances that you created and try to train the model, try to deploy your model, and so on. So there are so many benefits on that. And then the last layer, which actually is something that they recently provide, is kind of similar to the idea of agent, which is basically just the API or the end user results. And that's where Bedrock come into play, and also Amazon Q come into play. So these two instances are mostly based on, for example, a predefined foundational model, and they give you access to it, so you can basically use it and pay as you use it. However, inside the, for example, EC2 instance, if you deploy it or run it, or for example inside the Sagemaker AI, if you deploy an instance, you pay as they are on. So whether you use it or not use it, as long as those servers are running, you have to pay for them. But basically inside the Bedrock or Amazon Q, they are just provided in an API token. So basically how much is your input token and how much is your output token. That's basically how the cost is computed. And if you don't use it, there is no cost associated. If you already have an AWS account, you can simply move on to the next chapter. But in here, for those who doesn't have, you just go to the Google AWS create account, and you just choose the first one. Here we talk about free tier. We'll talk about that. You click on create free account, and then after that, we're gonna provide a root email address, your AWS account, and then after that, it's gonna ask you you for your credit card information. They're not going to charge you, probably maybe around $1 as a hold to just verify your account, and then they're going to ask some other simple information. It's very easy to do, and after that you will have access to your AWS account and completely for free. If you want to know what are the things that are free inside the AWS free tier, you can take a look at the 3 different offerings that they have. Free trials is based on how much you use. The 12 months free means you have 12 months to use it, whether or not you use it, that's going to be taken. And then there are something that are always free. Taking a look at in here, for example, in compute, we have EC2 750 hours, and then you can take a look at like what type of instances are available. We have S3 for the usage 5 gigabyte, and then Amazon SageMaker. So this is the one that you have a 2 months free trial, and it gives you access to M3 medium, for example, to only 50 hours and so on. So there are some of the cases that you need to for this trial, you need to increase the quota, so we'll talk about that as well. So as you can see, these are the different things that are available. So for example, Amazon Q is actually unlimited available, but this is in the developer tool. If you're also like me and you don't want to pay at all during this free period, then what you need to do is that you can come into this console and then type the bill and click on bill and cost management, and inside here, that's where you can actually decide your basically cost budgeting. And inside the budgeting, what you can do is that you can basically set some budgets and make sure that you don't go above that. So when you're clicking on the budget, there is a one that is saying that create a simple zero spend budget. That one will actually let you know if you go beyond the free premium, and it will let you know that okay, you have done that, and it will actually send an alert for you, so you know that okay, you are going beyond the free usage, so you can either stop or decide what you're going to go next. After you created your account, you will be logged into here, and then these are the different services that you will have access to. So what we really want to look in the beginning, we come in here, I'm going to search for different cases that we want. The first thing that we want is basically Sagemaker AI. So Sagemaker AI, this is the one that we want. If you click on it, it's gonna bring this one in here. What you need to make sure is that you need to take a look at the location. So make sure that you're using the correct location and make that consistent for the different usage that you have. So I'm using the West US one. And then after that, you're gonna create the different domains for yourself. So the domains that you are using are something that's basically look at it as kind of your name, or for example your profile. So inside the domain you will define what are the different services that you want to get available and who has what access and so many other things. So in here you basically click on create a new domain, and then that will create that for you. So as you are creating your domain, the domain will actually include some setting. Everything inside AWS has an ARN, which is this unique PII that is gonna be auto-generated, and you can use it across different basically tools that you have. It has some networks, it has some storage configuration. It will automatically create a S3 bucket for you, and then if you want to delete, you need to make sure beforehand that you don't have anything associated with this domain. And inside the profile, that's where you will define your different users. For us, since we are just using ourselves, we're gonna if you don't have it, you can just create a user. You're just gonna single user, and that will give you access to all of the information that you need. And when you are creating, you can also set that if some for example compute resource is idle for some period of time, just basically stop that, so you don't basically pay when you are not using it. When you create your own user, then you will come in here, launch, and then click on Studio. go, and it will bring you to here. That's where you have access to all of the available applications in here. What we really want in the beginning is the Jupyter lab. That's basically where we are going to run our code, and then we also want to access to some endpoints, and those endpoints are actually, one of them is the sentence embedding, and another one is basically an open source LLM. So we will talk about how we can basically create those. To access the Jupyter lab, that's basically your notebook when you can write your Python code. You can just click on here, and it will basically ask you to create a Jupyter lab space if you don't have one. So you just create a Jupyter lab, you can provide a name for it, and then after that it's going to ask you to associate basically a type of the instance that you want to work on, and then the type of instance you can choose the very simple one, MLT3 media, which, if you remember, was actually part of the free tier for 250 hours. And then after that, you're just gonna run the space. So it's gonna take some time until it will create this, and after that you can open your Jupyter lab, which basically create this one for you. I've already created in here, but basically in the beginning you don't have any information. There is basically a GitHub code that I will provide to give you access to this Jupyter notebook and also this document, so you can go along. And then there's also an associate document with that which walk you through each step. I will also share that in the description of the video. But what we want to do is that we want to first of all download this. So basically what you need to do, you need to come into the terminal. If you don't have the terminal when you basically come in the beginning, so you're gonna see something like this. You're gonna hear and come on terminal, and then you're just gonna say git clone, and then the link of the basically GitHub that I gave you. So it's basically download the file inside in here, and then what we want to do, as we mentioned, is that we have this text document which has some information about very specific health related questions, and then we're going to use a general purpose LLM to answer some hard questions. So basically it doesn't have any knowledge about them unless it look at the corresponding information. So that's it, what we are trying to do. But in order to do that, as you mentioned, we need two endpoints or basically two APIs that we want to call. One of them is obviously an LLM. So we'll talk about how we can access that. There is one way to do it with Bedrock, but there's also another way which basically we can do inside the EC2 instance as well. And there's also a sentence BERT, which is basically do a comparison to sort the related results for the retriever. So for that, you're gonna install the face CPU, and then you're gonna install the PyML, and then Pygantic and LangChain. Here are the list of the imports inside the AWS. You basically don't need to install Boto3. It's already come with AWS. That's the unified way to connect with the AWS client. And then you have JSON, NumPy, lots of LangChain, logging, and face. Here we do the logging. We can save so what's going on in here. So here are the two endpoints. Okay, so for endpoints, what you need to do, you need to come back Sagemaker Studio, and then you need to go inside your JumpStart. Inside the JumpStart, there are basically two files that you need to take a look into. So the name of the file is BGE small, so you're gonna choose version 1.5. So this is the one that I have already deployed, but basically you're gonna click on deploy, and then it's gonna ask you that what you're gonna choose. The instance type is this, but based on your free trial, you might not have access to it, and it will probably tell you that, okay, you don't have the quota for it. So if it says that, okay, you can't get this base because of the quota limit, what you can do is basically come in here and search for quota, and then access the service quota service increase, and then you're gonna search for Sagemaker, and then inside the Sagemaker, you're gonna look for the name that you want to use, right? This is the MGL, so I'm gonna search for it, and here I can see that currently I have applied, the default was 0, I have applied for 2, so you can basically click on it and request an increased quota. This majority of them can be done automatically, but if it is actually something that is go beyond, it might take some time and you need to justify, and they might not give you the whole thing. And then after that, what will happen is that it would be available, so you can deploy it. It's going to take some time, but while you are waiting, you can get the next one, which is our basically the LLM. So we're gonna use a free LLM, the open source Mistral. So you're gonna search Mistral instruct, and you're gonna choose this one. Again, the same thing, deploy, but then it's gonna require something very large, so you don't necessarily have to go with this. You can choose this one. It's going to be a little bit slower, but that's fine. But again, this is the one that you need to make sure that you have the status quota for it. And then after that, you have all of your endpoints. You can basically come in here and you see that these are the 2 endpoints that you have right now are in service. Again, this is another thing that you will be paying for them as long as they are in service. So if you don't need them, just stop them. I will definitely stop them after this finish. So what you need to do after that, you need to go to each of them. For example, this is the Mistral one, and copy the name, because your name might be different than mine. I'm gonna place it in here. So right now my name is correct, so I can just click on it. So here we go through the basically the particular coding. So language chain text splitter, so recursive calculate text splitter, which basically tries to have a recursive, not to lose any part for the overlap. And then we're gonna text split. So this is how the texts are split. So this is the document 0. And then what we want to do is that we're gonna count the average length, and we're gonna create a embedding, because that's the document itself. We don't want to save that. We want to save the embedding values of it, which we basically get from the sentence bird. As you can see in here, we're gonna do the embedding and add them. So we transfer the input, the prompt, the embedding, the model embedding, and we want to also transfer the output. So Sagemaker endpoints, we already have that, the JumpStart one, and we're gonna pass the name, the region name. Make sure that the region name is correct. Also, when you are assigning the quota, make sure that you are in the correct region. And then after that, you will just load this text file, and then basically try to split it, and then split the document. So these are the splits, and this is the page count. You will do the embed query. So you can embed query document 0, only the document 0, and we can see the result. So the document 0 would be equal to this. All of these numbers would be the embedding of the first one, and then later on we want to check for something. We're gonna see a constant similarity of this and the new, and then we'll try to retrieve the related information in our retriever. So phase is the one that is going to be used as our kind of like vector database. We're gonna use it like in memory in here, but there is some options that you can actually associate it with another AWS server to basically handle this database for you. And then in here I'm just saving it locally, so you can see that it's been created in here. This is going to take a little bit of time because it's going to create that phase for you. Maybe, for example, based on this instance, maybe around like 10 minutes. But then after that, you can basically load from this to basically find a related query. So let's say, what is acute kidney injury? And then you're going to say that, okay, let's try to find the top 3 related result. And then the loaded database, you're going to do the similarity search. And then you're going to give the key and basically the query that you have. So here it will turn you the results of 3 related components. So now the only thing that will remain is that I'm going to add these 3 to my basically input prompt. I'm going to say that, okay, based on this, now tell me the answer, give it to the LLM. So here is you can also see the score of each of them. For the RAG, we're going to use the LangChain. So LangChain will try to do the operation for us. The region, we can define the region in here, and then what we will do is that we want to transfer the input. We're gonna have our input as string. These are the different variables that we're going to use for our LLM. So temperature, topi, sample, and then we're going to have transfer some output. So what we want to see our result, we want to get the, for example, response JSON. And then we basically create the Sagemaker endpoint. So the Sagemaker endpoint in here is again the LLM that we already have created, and then we're gonna give the name and then maximum the token. So now this will act as this LLM is our new basically API. So now I can access to it. So I can say retriever Q&A from LangChain. I give the LLM and then chain type and then our retriever and then the variables. So we want to see that what's going on. So now we're gonna ask, okay, the query, what are the main causes of heart failure? So query and then the question, answer, and then we want to see that what are the source document. This is the result, and each result has all of these components. So here we can see after we run, we have entering the retriever chain. So heart failure can be caused by either of this, and then after the chain is finished, here's the final result that is basically based on this source document. And there you have it, guys. We went over how to use AWS Sagemaker AI to actually call some function, how to have some endpoints, and basically create a RAG. I have also created the code inside the GitHub. We'll check the link to take a look at the step-by-step guide, and there's also code for all of those steps. If you enjoyed this type of video, make sure to like, more importantly subscribe to the channel so you see more information like this. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to watch this video that I created about Gemini API and how we can ask questions about the PDF and images, or you can watch this video that I talk about the OpenAI API and do the same thing. We went over the code. Thanks for watching and see you until the next one.